He leave a little bit cracked as soon as he gets through it. You know where he is.
Yeah.
He literally, I know it's my run. He's not even half a mile. 2 blocks away. Only thing that'll hold him up is that light. Did we might test for this one? Light test. There it is. Yeah, I'm good. Here we are, right here at the Lonestar Sports Show. All things sports, all things Texas.
Are we rolling?
Got plenty of things going on.
He just want to do mic test.
Oh, I'm live on here.
Oh, okay.
That's why I was like, do I need to switch the camera up?
No.
I said, okay. Mic test was live?
Yeah.
Oh, 1 minute. My bad. I didn't know you were live.
What's up?
30 seconds.
My bad, Cox.
10 seconds.
Yeah, here we come in 10 seconds.
You go. 5.
Hey, here we are live right here at the Lonestar Sports Show on the Lonestar Sports Network. All things sports, all things Texas. Today's show is brought to you by FastMallSports.com. And to get it done, I'm flying this thing solo for a minute or two. My main man, Tom Emmon, got caught up in a little neighborhood construction project going on down the street. And we got it going on and doing what it does. We got plenty to talk about. We got the man, Commissioner Cox. Commissioner Cox, live right there from CarMax. I hope I didn't say the wrong company. You could. I'm good. All right. I don't want to make all my listeners over there at CarMax upset. Call the wrong company name out. But no, we got plenty to talk about. Before we dive into the obvious, first of all, we want to acknowledge that a young man that's pretty much a part of our family's father and my father are all natives of Port Arthur, and Bam Harris has been announced as the interim head coach for the DeSoto Eagles right here, somewhat in the neighborhood, not far away. Really excited about that. I'm going to let Cox comment a little bit because they usually stay in. There he is, rolling right in. He made it by the Starbucks.
No, that was at 5:15. There's other things. I'm sorry. I apologize to everybody.
There's a whole lot of things to joke and sacrifice. Starbucks is not one.
No, coffee wins. No, I'm sorry. I apologize to everybody.
No,
how you doing, Cox?
Yeah.
If I was any better, I'd be twins, man.
What man? And here's the old ISD UIL coach right here at the same time. What does it mean when a high school program, which I would say is a top 5 or 6 high school program, definitely in the Metroplex, and maybe a top 10 type program in the state of Texas? Everybody okay with me saying that the DeSoto Eagles football program?
Fair,
yeah, that's fair. Okay. What does it mean when they obviously dismiss their existing coach and name another coach the interim coach? Is that for administrative purposes?
Wait, DeSoto just reassigned Mike Robinson?
That's correct. Yeah.
After 1 year again?
Yeah.
All right, well, that takes racism out of play. That's just idiotism. Because so you took a white guy that won 16-0 one state, and that wasn't good enough, ran his ass off. Then you brought in...
But he had some other issues, though.
Oh, agreed.
Yeah, we know about that. We'll say he had computer issues, and we'll leave it at that.
Okay, right, okay. Nonetheless, now you're right back in the same situation. I don't know what Mike did. I didn't even know. This is complete news to me. I know nothing about Mike Robinson getting reassigned.
Yeah, but
wow.
that is correct, right?
Wow.
Commissioner Cox. Yeah. Commissioner Cox.
Can I make a prediction? Hold on. As a
no, let me hear what Cox has to say.
Go ahead, Cox. Go ahead.
Right in the middle. I want to hear it. Yeah. No, it's a great opportunity, right? I mean, he's head coach material. Yeah. Yeah. Oh no. No, Ken Harris. Yeah, he was a great friend of ours. Right. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. He's worked well in the community, which he had a great role model too. I mean, Bam outside the lines could definitely do the job because he's going to have to support these lines. He'll get players, and that's a big part of it, And he don't have to recruit either, all you UIL people.
Well, they need to do it with this guy right here, because here's the problem: is if you don't stay with this guy, the interim, because what you're really saying is he's the solution now, and I wish he got well, because everyone was.
That was the question I was trying to. That's my real answer right here. Do we have someone that's there to fulfill an administrative role, and they're going to go out?
Why we run a big national search? Because my prediction is this: after the last two coaches, and especially if you do it to the third one, you're not going to get the big players coming in. It's kind of like coaching the Cowboys.
Why do we get around here?
No, come on. I'm sorry, but this is the Texas sports show. Come on now. Right? You have the over-involved owners, and it's probably the school board or some big booster out there is running shit.
Yeah,
somebody is. I don't know who is, but I wouldn't know him from Adam.
It's a lot of political things there in the program. It would have to be understood.
3 coaches in 3 years.
Yeah, and a winning program.
No, 4 coaches in 3 years. Now 4.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
In high school.
Who's moving their family across the state of Texas or across the country for $100,000 and a bunch of bullshit?
Yeah.
So your players will get stolen away by IMG Academy and every other punk in town.
Right.
No, man, I'll tell you what, I'm glad I retired from all this crap.
Yeah. Okay, you just got the retired UIL version. Now back to it. I still want a question answered and all that talk right there.
Okay.
What does it generally mean? I know what it means at the collegiate level and at the high school. I don't think I've ever heard of an interim head football coach before in high school. That might be new to me.
Well, I just figured that. No, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No,
go through the holidays with no.
It's a boat with no rudder, because what'll happen is all those kids will go to Christmas break and there'll be no head coach named, and every one of them is going to get poached by every other school in town. So even if you don't think he's the best candidate, you got to commit to somebody now, and then you tell him, hey, listen, you run it from now until whenever, and we'll guarantee you get one of the 5 interviews. That's fair, right? I hope he gets it.
No. He wasn't against the other coach either before that. Right. He's not that kind of human being. Right.
Well, hey, it's not very far to Lancaster or Duncanville.
Right, and we should have an opportunity to be I mean, it should be a situation with a above 50% chance of him getting a job. Am I too? No, he's been on the show before. Yeah, yeah, he's been on the show. I mean. Yeah, go spend some time with his family.
Hey guys, when did this all happen? How recently?
Hours
Today? Okay. Wow.
It's Commissioner Cox, Coach.
I reached out to my dirt guy. I can't name him, my source. I got my dirt guy out there. I'm asking what happened, just to see if I can get any answer that I can repeat on there, which I probably can't, but I'll at least dig it.
Yeah, well, he knows that you're holding where it needs to be. But
that's why he's not answering right now. Not till 8 o'clock.
He doesn't trust you. That's what
that's okay.
So that's about trusting your sources. You don't trust them. But no, that's good. But first of all, congratulations just to wear that tag. You know, when I say that I'm involved in youth sports the years that I have been and being a product of youth sports, Bam Harrison is what you hope a kid grows up to be. I'm not talking about his NFL career. I'm talking about who he is as a human being and how he carries himself and what he gives back to the community overall, behind the scenes and on the stage, being there at all those sub-varsity games and taking a role and helping. I mean, I think I've had a chance to observe him. I have a grandson in that program, and I had a chance to observe him at the sub-varsity games. He's not there trying to do every job. He's sitting there analyzing the personnel, seeing how that personnel will fit into the varsity program that they have there, and what he can do for the personnel there to help develop them into being the piece that they need. And that's one of the things I watch. He sits there and watches all of those games, A and B game, freshman A and B, JV A and B, or whatever, however they do it, but multiple games he'll sit and watch. I guess I was watching the freshman A and B, and then the JV game. He'll sit and watch those 3 games and analyze, break down, look, stand there attentively, rain, sleet, or snow, and when he could be in a press box.
Right.
And grabbing kids that need encouragement or need a few things pointed out to them when the opportunity is right.
How old is Bam?
Coach can answer that better than I could. 30s.
Okay.
Bam was that old? Wow. Boy. See, I thought Bam was younger than Snoop. I mean, I thought he was like 4 or 5. See, I was gone all this game. Yeah. Yeah. Snoop always tries to handle Bam like he's the oldest or something. He may be oldest by 3 weeks or something like that. Yeah,
maybe 3 hours.
It's a big job. It's an important job.
The second your kid don't start. Because
well, yeah. That's real talk there, and like we said, we hope for the best. We're getting ready to run the break right quick. This particular segment was brought to you by Harlem Hotels, located right there in Houston, Texas. Take a look and a listen. The look is at harlemhotels.com. The listen is right here in 10 seconds. We back. Tom Inman, Alan Branch, Lady Life, and the Prince, Under Your Money, and the commish giving it to us like this. Breaking news. Bam Harrison named the interim head coach at DeSoto for the DeSoto Eagles right there in DeSoto, Texas. Back in 180 seconds with more Lonestar Sports Show.
Okay. I know you're not going to give this to me until
Put up all them hotels.
Yeah, Coach, you there? Yeah. Coach, when we...
That's the bottom line. I'm not going to say this on the air, but man, that's hell right there. I mean, you got to be careful what you ask for. That community is not lost. Nobody.
Well, I mean, the business is not long.
Hey, Koch, what I was going to say, which of course I couldn't say on the air myself, is this is like meeting a cheating woman in a bar who's really super fine. And you're blinded by how fine she is, right? But she's already cheating on her husband. And she's going to cheat on you. It's just a matter of filling in the blank. They've already cheated on 2 people in the last 3 years. And the only advantage he has is he knows these people, but that can turn to a disadvantage because the best 2 jobs in the world are the assistant coach and the fucking backup quarterback.
Okay, the best thing can happen for Bam, believe it or not.
He parlays it into another big job.
He parlays into another big job.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I didn't want to say that on there. I guess everybody had something they didn't want to say on the air. That was what I didn't want to say on there.
Out of respect for just the business. I mean, we've all been in the business. So,
Right.
But just on the cool business, bam, as a parlay distance. See, the good thing about it is by being this guy, you don't have to go back and take some DISD job now. You know what I'm saying? Now you can really go to a real district now and get a
Do you
real
have a run sheet?
job.
You can even get it if you don't get this head coaching job. If you just handle the interim well, they'll give you a great recommendation because they want you to leave.
Absolutely. Because one thing they can't do now, the problem with
What we're going into?
We're good with Cowboys.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can never what?
you can never leave it there now without being at least a coordinator.
Yeah.
1 minute.
Yeah. So here we come back, man. We're gonna dive in. Follow my lead on these Cowboys. No, he said 1 minute. So we still got 30 seconds, Cox. My bad.
We're good.
Yeah, I jumped over there too fast. When I hit you on that button like that, you can hear the music playing just like what we hear?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, that's cool. Never asked that question. 100 and how many shows is one?
He's probably hearing it through y'all's headphones.
No, you can't hear when I mute him. When I send him, he can hear it now. You don't think
That's different.
It's different. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he said he could hear it. He just could hear
Yeah.
it through the headphones now.
What's
Yeah.
one question you never asked? 100 shows I didn't hear what you had my headphones on.
Oh, you hear? When like Cox is right here, when we
10 seconds.
take him off the speaker,
Right.
does he hear the music? I'm not sure if he does.
Oh, okay. I would think he probably does.
5. Y'all ready?
Hey, we're back here at the Lonestar Sports Show. Tom Inman, Lady Life, Under Your Money, and the commish, the mayor, controversial Cox, giving it to us, breaking hot off the press. My main man, Bam Morris, has been named interim head coach at the, almost called at the university. How about that? Wow, that's just a habit. That's the world I live in. At the University of DeSoto High School. Get it done. Usually when I'm having a conversation like that, Cox, it's at the University of. But it almost rolled out my mouth there. But yeah, so we moving along, man. But you know, it's
Set the tone for what you want.
It's not me.
you know, it's got to be you. You
It's not.
always the one
No.
guilty some kind of way. You turn something on, cause you got way too much technology, too many gadgets.
I got one phone. What are you talking about?
I'm talking about when you got too many different things. For you.
I'm trying to
Back to the matter right here. I want to ask a question. Obviously, the Cowboys are a good team, you know, and I'll be the first to say it. I'll say it on the air, off the air. They're not a great team. First of all, I think great is just way too loosely used in the last 3 to 5 years, and it just keeps getting worse and worse. Everything is great. It's great. Well, what's bigger than great?
Elite.
Yeah.
Only elite.
Yeah, I mean everything is. We're trying to use media and verbiage to
You're good, Tom.
yeah to just make everything just turn into. So they're not a great team. They're a good team. You know, they're a good NFL team. I've been saying they had top quadrant talent and personnel across the board, and but they were performing at a third, fourth quadrant level. That's what I said about the Dallas Cowboys.
What do you call their performance now? Second or third quadrant?
I think they're more like second quadrant, high end second quadrant, low first quadrant. I mean, you're talking about now you got 32 teams, so you're talking about 8 teams. So do we say they're the 9th worst team in?
No, you're probably right. They're probably somewhere between 5 and 8.
Yeah, I think. Yep. What do you think, Cox? When we start talking in numbers like that, yeah. But are we 10? Yeah. Okay. All right. So we are
7, 8, 9.
Yeah. Not Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Okay, you answered the question. Well, I got one better for that, Cox. You're right, Cox. Well, let me say what once. Exactly. Let me say, okay, you're getting to my point now. They are the most valuable, according to Forbes magazine, the most valuable sports franchise in the world. So you got high expectations, right?
Yeah, you know, you're right. That's fair.
So it's a more marketable. Okay, all right. You just said it right there. More marketable franchise, a position that a shadow that position you've been put in, and like you just said, what sums it all up to much who's been given, much is expected. Yeah. There's a lot of perspectives on that, though, Cox. Well, I think I'm a moderate Dallas Cowboy fan. You know, I mean, I love the Cowboys. I mean, I'm not fanatical. I don't have a lot of stuff. My wife is a little closer to fanatical. She grew up Robert Newhouse, you know, the family and everything. So it's kind of deep in her world. And I grew up the same way. You know, what the point is that here my expectations are. And you can tell me if I'm a bad Cowboy fan, if I'm a good Cowboy fan. In my opinion, the Cowboys shouldn't have losing seasons. They shouldn't miss the playoffs 2 years in a row. And every 3 to 4 years, we should be looking at an NFC championship game. And every 10 years, we should be in the Super Bowl once or twice. That's what kind of makes me. That's what's realistic to me.
I think that's fair, though. I mean, because if you expected less, then I would say, what kind of fan are you? If that's all you expect is 8-8's good enough, then you really aren't a fan.
And they're definitely not 8-8. I mean, I wouldn't even be a fan of one. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. So you kind of have similar expectations that I mean. Mm-hmm. Right. No, it didn't work like that. Yeah, that's what they get us on. Yeah.
Hey, Cox, here's an interesting thing I did one time because I was getting a verbal argument with a buddy of mine. And I said, go make a list of all the teams who have appeared in the Super Bowl since the last time the Cowboys did. There's like 22 of the teams who showed it. I mean, real powerhouses like the Bears and the Indianapolis Colts. And there's really been, almost everyone in the league's been there since they've been there.
Well,
so it's an inconvenient fact and everything, but it's still a fact.
It's an inconvenient fact. It's a little bit of an embarrassing fact, but it is a fact. Now, I will say this right here. I mean, I think that now there's let's just go back to that word great again. I think there's a lot more parity and a lot more level playing field because of free agency and different things of nature and the way things are structured than there used to be in sports. That still doesn't excuse 20 plus years of not even playing in the Super Bowl, or not even. I think how many years of not playing in the NFC Championship game? 23, right? That's bad. You know, I mean that doesn't excuse that. That's a bad. Yeah, that's a deal. No, it's across the board, right? Yeah. Well, okay, I'm going to jump on this right here. And I asked the question, why do we spend so much time talking about what the Cowboys aren't? and I'm talking about the present team right now that we just got through watching this past Sunday.
I can answer that. Can you hear Bruce Springsteen in the back playing Glory Days? You know that old song? Yeah, you're not rock and roll fans probably, but Glory Days, we're talking about the guy that sits and talks about back in the day. The longer you go back in the day, the better the day used to be. Well, who's looking further back in the day than Cowboy fans? Jesus.
Yeah, we got a lot of good days to look back
You get
at.
dizzy. You get dizzy looking in the rearview mirror. You're looking so far freaking back.
Well, but in my opinion, in today's landscape, I think the Cowboys are more are than they aren't. It's what I would say.
Well, I think part of it is it's an unfair thing because, like, I'm not a Cowboy hater, but I think a lot of times the Cowboys there's too much attention paid to them nationwide, and I kind of wonder why. And I know the answer. It always comes back to money. Mm-hmm. It always comes back to marketing. There's a lot of Cowboy fans who don't live in Dallas, et cetera, et cetera. But I think it's like between Jerry's goofiness and his insistence on running things, I think that at some point in time, people kind of like to watch him fall on a sword more than other people. Mm-hmm. That's why I think there's more of the aren'ts than ours.
So there's more or less people trying to discredit his potentially being successful.
Well, Jerry's been pretty bad at the draft, and I mean now he's wanting to do a cartwheel across the star because he got it right once. Well, good, yeah. Cooper's a great pickup, but great general managers get it right most of the time, not just once every decade. Yeah.
But you can't find a dude on the team.
Somebody asked him that one time in a press conference. Mm-hmm. That's how you fix things. That's how you get better.
Okay, that's fair. Well, and it's like I always tell players, if you're not getting better, if you're not getting, yeah. Mm-hmm. But if you're not. Well, I mean, a big part of that is because you're an insider. See, you got to always take what you listen to Cox. You got to realize Cox is talking about stuff that most people don't get.
Okay, hold on. Show of hands. Is there anyone here who doesn't think that he's into money more than winning? No hands up, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, the answer is because the stadium's already full and you can't overfill a stadium. And the other answer is you already sell more gear than anyone else, and Jerry's making all that money from the gear. He worries more about. I told Burkhead that plays for the Patriots. I said, hopefully in 3 years you'll come back and Jerry will overpay you because he cares more about selling your jerseys at Walmart than he gives a damn whether you suck as a football player at the age of 32, which you will because you'll be old.
Yeah. Well, and that's a great point. You know, but when you break this thing down, and let's just talk NFC. You know, because we're. Yeah. Well, we come back. We're going to look at as we get ready to go to break. We're running out of time right here, but we all would agree that 9 times out of 10, the Cowboys are going to win the East, and they'll be playing either the Seahawks or the Vikings in the wild card game. Is that right, Cox?
He's out. Just keep.
I think we already cut you off, Cox. We're coming back here to have to break the Lonestar Sports Show right here, the Lonestar Sports Network. This particular segment was brought to you by Fast Recruit. They hit the button on me, Cox.
Got the vaudeville hook.
Yeah, they pulled me in. Be back in 180 seconds with more of the Lonestar Sports Show. All things sports, all things Texas.
You got the vaudeville hook, man.
Yeah,
they put the cane on your neck.
They put. No. I'm saying no. She hit the button on. You didn't hear all I said. I said when we come back, we're going to analyze how we would all say that right now the Cowboys have a great chance to win the NFC East, which gets them into the playoffs, and they will not get a first round bye. They'll be playing either the Seahawks or the Vikings in a wild card game. Is that right?
Of the Bears.
Well, the Bears could fall back down from 9-4. But I looked at the Bears situation, Coach. They got a better round out Then
Yeah, we got an easy run. We got Minnesota, Green Bay, and who's our third?
yeah, somebody worse than them. Right. Yeah.
Check
I
it
pulled
real quick.
it up here in a second. Here it is right here. The Bears have.
I know it's Green Bay next. Can't wait to kick Aaron Rodgers' ass.
What
Have a
team
bad
did you
team
say
for
is
once.
Cowboys and who they playing next?
Colts.
Colts.
Okay.
Colts now.
Which is not a given.
No, I don't think we beat the Colts. I actually think there's a high percentage chance. That's the best chance of the best chance of losing is going to be.
So is the conversation centered around the Colts or centered around playoffs?
Sitting around playoffs.
Okay.
Playoffs.
All right, so if you're the conference or division champ, you're gonna get
Yeah.
a home game in the first round,
We
right?
got the Vikings right here.
No.
No. Mm-mm. We won't get no. We ain't on home advantage.
You'll be a road team no matter what.
We're on the road.
We're on the road all the way. Yeah.
I wonder how that'll handle if they get the cold weather.
1 minute.
LA struggled the other night in that cold weather. It makes a difference. I don't give a shit what anyone says. That if they say that, they haven't lived in it.
Because we can run the ball a little. We can run the ball. That's
So,
what.
one thing we can do is we can run this thing.
That's what I'm saying. We can run the ball. We ain't worried about that.
We just don't need to. The biggest thing we need to do is not play a team that's going to force us to score a lot of points.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, okay, here they go. They got the 49ers, the Packers, and the Vikings. So they're going to win two of them. The Bears going to win 2 and lose 1.
They'll win. They'll win
30
2-1,
seconds.
3-0.
Yeah. Right.
we don't want to play Chicago either.
Right. Yeah, definitely not interested.
I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
See,
Here we come, Coach.
10 seconds. 5.
Boom, 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 boom.
Got the bass box.
He didn't like that right there, boy. You got to be born from the 70s and the 80s to understand. You don't have music if you ain't got that dude, the cool dude back there thumping that bass.
Thumping the bass, yeah.
Thumping the bass. That's what no matter what it is, you got to
Playing
thump
the
bass.
saxophone or the bass are the
Yeah,
two
there's a
coolest.
group over there, they don't even know what a bass guitar is. Because on the Lonestar Sports Show,
I
like,
seen one.
It's the one with the thick cables, guys.
right. They basically go boom, boom, boom.
I didn't think they exist until I saw one on TV.
It's what happens when you take the ukulele and you go through puberty.
Yeah. But yeah, we got my main man controversial Cox here. We're sitting here having a good one breakdown on it, and we're going to get ready to go back. We're projecting now that we're going to say that the Cowboys are going to win. We have to assume something here. That the sun is going to come up tomorrow morning. That the Cowboys are going to win the NFC East. You know, and basically in a situation where the Cowboys are left. I think the Colts could be a tough one on the road. Even though they do go to a dome situation up there, but they got to run into Andrew Luck is his name.
Andrew Luck's playing pretty well, yeah.
He's playing really well right now.
They say he might be the comeback player of the year this year in the NFL.
Yeah, and then you got the Buccaneers. It's not an easy deal. The Giants, that'll be one of those deals. So they got to keep on playing football, but we got to start somewhere to have any kind of conversation, But Cowboys winning the NFC East and going into the playoff picture, and I'm saying Seahawks, Vikings, and you guys are throwing Bears. But when I look at the Bears situation, the Bears have a really, really clean look at what's going on and what's left. What are the chances of playing? If the Bears win their deal, we can't see the Bears in the first round, right? Right, Cox? I think I know I'm right. But I'm talking, we can't see them if they win.
Now, how does that work out? You guys, I haven't read anything.
Oh no! Well, yes. With the team, I'm going on record saying that with the team and the personnel and the defense you have, and one of the top 1, 2, or 3 running backs in the NFL. With an offensive line like what you have, with one of the best receiving cores in the deal that you have, yes, if you lose in the first round, it goes back to what I was saying. They were underachieving. They were in the bottom group, achieving at the 20 out of 32 teams. They were producing in the 26, 27 range early on in the season. Now we all agree they moved up somewhere around 7 or 8 or 9, somewhere in there of the deal. So you cannot go out in the first round of the playoffs. Because we're saying in the NFC right now that they are they're a top 5 team. The record is saying that right now. that they're a top 5 type team.
Yeah, I mean,
5. I'm gonna go for
Yeah, but
split
see,
5 and 6.
I'll be cynical again, and I'll go after Jerry because why not? I'm a pit bull on his ankle all the time.
Well, Jerry,
anyway.
let's put
But
Jerry
no,
in press ball. We're playing football now.
I know, but you're talking about being successful. So you said, is it a failure or success? To a competitor and to a true fan, it's a failure. To Jerry and to the people who just are glad to be in the playoffs for the first time in X number of years, he'll sell just as many T-shirts if they go out in the first round as they go out in the third round. I think he would be happy.
No,
I think
he's gonna sell more T-shirts the longer they play now. Don't get that twisted. He might be doing really well.
But he's always going to spend it no matter what he does.
A waste is better than a wash. But go ahead. Yeah.
Well, how about if Garrett keeps his job and then they re-up Dak for 4 years? Now you're stuck in salary cap hell in about the second year of his contract.
Yeah, he's
going to get signed, right?
We got a Dak segment now. We'll hold off on Dak right now.
But with the hard cap, all I'm saying is there's limits. It's not like the NBA where you just pay the luxury tax and move on.
Yeah, well, but here's the deal: is right now you're sitting there I'm not trying to be optimistic by any stretch of the imagination. You know, the question is Seahawks or Vikings, tough game. You know, I'm not.
Yeah, you don't want to play Seattle. You want to play the Vikings out of those two.
Right. So
because Kirk Cousins is average, below average.
Right. So you come out of that situation. Now the winners out of those situations are dealing with the Rams and the Saints.
Okay.
Before you go to the actually you're dealing with the Rams and Saints to get a chance to play for the NFC. So you basically right now, hypothetically, the Cowboys could need to beat the Vikings. Could need to beat the Vikings, the Rams, and then play the Saints in the NFC Championship game in New Orleans.
Hey, if they were to keep winning that much, then they deserve all the credit in the world because that's a tough road.
I mean, it's a tough road, but I mean, it's not like it's just way out there. I'm gonna step back and hear y'all from it. That's what I'm saying.
No, it's doable. Like Cox, you were with Snoop in the Kimball years, and you know that as well as I do that once you get to the playoffs, 2/3 of the teams are out. There's no more shitty teams. Even the worst team you see in the playoffs is still a playoff team. So every cornered animal is dangerous. So I'm not going to say that you couldn't do it. I'm just saying you got to play pretty much perfect football.
The Cowboys are a cornered animal too.
Well, no, I agree.
Right.
So we're going to find out. We're going to see if they fight or if they got wounds.
They got a cornered animal defense over there. They got a cornered animal offensive line, a cornered animal receiving corps.
We'll see.
So they match up all the way across the board. And you know what the Cowboys' biggest strength is right now? Time of possession. It's hard to beat them because they got the ball.
Right. Hey, you want to hear something interesting I read today? You guys might have read this. There were 3 things Dak did the other day that
Okay, let's go ahead. Keep going.
they're going to force you to. They're going to force you to do that. Nope.
Well, but you got to pick your poison in this situation. Okay.
Right. They'll go with cut off the head and the body dies.
I invite a defensive coordinator to cover him with 2 people and neutralize him and limit him to 3 catches and 40 yards. And this what? Then you're gonna turn around and you're gonna get Gallup and you're gonna get. But that's what he. Yeah.
Receiver always wins it, and the push goes to the tie goes to the receiver.
Yeah, well. So okay, it's okay. Let me ask you a question. Have the Cowboys beat? I mean, when I listen to you, Cox, you telling me the Cowboys have not beat a legitimate NFL team this year? The Falcons and the Saints.
And the Falcons is a stretch.
Right. You know, you're in a situation in overtime with the Saints, with the Texans. Well, very, very winnable game. I think the Texans. I know the Texans is a solid top 10 NFL team.
Close don't count though.
Yeah. Well, and you saying who won and who what? I'm doing this for analytical purposes of saying what level we can play at and what level we can't play at. Because that's what I'm hearing from you all is that the Cowboys can't play at the level it needs to be played at, and our defense won't be successful. Our defense won't be able to stop anybody. Amari Cooper's going to be trash when we get to the playoffs, and somebody doubles it. Now we got to
give me 30 seconds real quick. First of all, I don't think he said anything about the defense or anything else. We're talking about Dak, putting it in Dak's hands. They said that there were 3 stats that he violated. It was like an anomaly. They said only two people have thrown over 50 passes this year and won a game. He's one of them. Only 2 quarterbacks have thrown for over 400 yards and won a game. He's one of them, and that's because those are considered desperation benchmarks. You're throwing too much then. And then the third one was 3 turnovers. Usually any of those 3 would get you beat. He did all 3 and they still won. And Jason Garrett at the end says, well, we threw it a little more than we need to. Well, you're the idiot that's supposed to make that decision. Dak Prescott throwing 52 times against a good defense will get them buried.
Yeah, well, I mean,
buried.
And that goes back to, game planning and questioning some of that. I still feel, and I'm going to go on record, we got 2 minutes before we go to the break here. I'm going on record and saying that the Cowboys have the personnel in place. They're if you say do they have a weakness? No, their weakness is a mediocre, solid, or decent quarterback and no tight end. But the tight end is developing. I think the quarterback is going to get better.
It's fair.
Right. I don't think.
I know what time tells. I
don't think you question the defense. I don't think you question the offensive line. Even though they put the kid at left tackle back in there, they probably should have been playing because his replacement was doing a better job than he was doing.
But I still want to make a distinction on this great offensive line because you can't put all these knocks and sacks and all these hurries and rushes all on Dak holding the ball too long. They're great road blockers. They're great road graders. They're downhill blockers, but they're not great pass blockers. And the Bears would destroy those guys.
Well, the Bears would destroy those guys. The kid that they brought back and they were really excited about at the left tackle.
Tyron Smith. And he got 3 holding penalties. He was terrible.
Right. Well, you know what I noticed I picked up on him?
His sub was better.
No, it was that, and that he has a slow left hip.
Yeah.
Now, he may be hurt.
He can't drop step for the pass
protection. The left hip has to open up. You're only as good as your left hip. And the ability to understand
But the ability to run downhill and run block is so much easier for an unathletic or an injured lineman than it is to take 2 steps back and set up in an athletic crouch position, which is what you got to do on pass blocking.
Yeah, when he's hurt. And the left side, it's all about your left hip. He was getting beat on his left shoulder all the time.
Yep.
That's where he was getting beat because he couldn't get there.
Well, if you overcompensate, then he just beat you inside. So it's hard to overcome.
Well, it's a Lonestar Sports Show right here. Now, obviously, it's going to be some controversy when we got controversial the commissioner right here giving it to us like it is. But hey, we just giving our opinion. We're not here to agree. We're just here to give you a valid perspective on things. All things sports, all things Texas. Giving it to you like it is. Tom Emlin, the champ. Money, the prince. Lady Life, keeping us where we need to be. And yours truly, Alan Branch. Lonestar Sports Show. All things sports, all things Texas. Deep into some Dallas Cowboy stuff. We still got another 24 minutes of Cowboys here. The whole deal. We're going to go ahead and visit some more. Be back in 180 seconds with more of the Lonestar Sports Show. This particular segment is brought to you by Hardham Hotels, HardhamHotels.com. Take a look and listen. You take a look at the .com website where you see a beautiful looking, a great place for you to invest and put your money where you sleep. And listen to our beautiful Lady Life giving us a nice breakdown, making it sound real, real good to you. Back in 180 seconds with the Lonestar Sports Show. Coach, I guess we got a little controversial cops going on there, Coach.
Coach, I'm tired of everybody. He's trash. Coach, he is a glorified random weed. I don't know why we keep talking about this guy. This guy's going to be the reason all of us are talking about maybe next year. Every time we talk about Dak Prescott, the second thing that comes out of our mouth is what he has.
So name me 10 quarterbacks better than Dak Prescott.
Okay, Coach, that's easy. Hold on. I'm sorry. Let me get to that screen.
That's an old screen. I know where you're going. I know exactly. I already looked at that shit. Pull it up. You gotta look at the date on that.
Coach, the Patriots quarterback is better than him.
Okay.
The Chiefs quarterback is better than him. The Chargers quarterback is better than him. Derek Carr may be having a bad time, but he's better than Dak Prescott.
I don't know about that one. We're
Give him the same line, I bet he is.
The Baltimore Ravens quarterback is better than him. The young kids playing better than him. Baker Mayfield is better than him. Roethlisberger is better than him.
Yep.
Our kid in Houston is better than him.
Yep.
Coach is almost. I mean,
No, that puts you at 8.
You're at 7. I got 7.
I had 8 right there.
Love is better than him.
9.
Mariota is better than him. Coach,
No, Mariota. I mean, God, no. I mean,
Coach, come on.
1 minute.
What do you mean he just came here and whooped his behind?
yeah.
Trubisky ain't much behind him. Trubisky ain't great, but he ain't much behind Dak if he's even behind Dak.
Cam is better than he is.
Cam Newton.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
is better than him. Matt Ryan is better than him.
you haven't said anything about golf, have you?
Of course, Goff is better than
Well,
him.
I didn't think you had named him.
I
Yeah.
was getting over here. Wentz is having a bad year, but he's better than him. So, Coach, there's a bunch of quarterbacks.
So, Cox, you saying there are 15, and we'll come back. Where you said
there's 20.
there's 20 quarterbacks better.
There's 20 teams out there today, Coach.
There's 20 starting quarterbacks better.
There's 20 starting quarterbacks right now. If their job, if Dak Prescott was free, 20 teams in the NFL would say, okay, he's free.
Hey, I got a better question for you. If you could let him go out and shop himself amongst the general managers and say, what's the most you pay me next year?
10 seconds.
Attaboy,
Oh,
Cox.
let's go back at the Lonestar Sports Show. 5, 4, 3, 2. Here we
The
go.
dollar store. Ooh, I wish you guys were tuned in on the off time.
Boy, y'all missed out on one right there. We had a really good break right there, and we broke this thing down. I basically was saying that they're not 15. Dak Prescott is in the top 15 starting quarterbacks in the deal. I think he's around 12 or 13. The Buffalo Bills. Okay, let's go.
Well, Jerry did pass 3 times. Let's not give him a pass.
Let's throw a scenario out there. Okay, I really can't argue with when you start breaking the numbers down. Actually, controversial, Cox. I go with about 15, 16 guys that, when you look at it, break it down, it's right in. I think he started getting. He says 20. I don't believe it 20. I think it gets real controversial after around about 14 or 15 or so, maybe 16.
But that's the definition of average. That's right smack in the middle of the league.
Right. Yeah.
Which is why they've been 8-8 for the last 3 years.
Well, no, I mean that you can't blame all there. But let's go back. Okay, well, let's say that is what it is. Okay, let's say that is what it is. And we break this thing down. If you don't pay him and you release him, what's your option? No, I'm talking about, but you got
draft one next year.
You gotta have one. Do you want to?
Oh, you don't have a first round draft pick?
Do you want to have a? Do you want to have a car that turns over on the third turnover? You got to try 3 times and pat it and say stuff. I done threw one of them. Yeah, no, I saw those things. So, but just could you just dream up who you get as a replacement? That's because.
Hold on, I got another thought. How about draft one next year, create real quarterback competition on the 4th year of Dak's contract? Don't re-sign him early and make him actually freaking earn it. And at worst, pay him the franchise tax.
You gotta go find somebody to compete for him. Basically, what I'm telling y'all is,
well, who's the best quarterback in the draft? Who's the best quarterback in college?
I've always agreed with that. I mean, he's a 4th round draft.
What do you think Gallup says behind closed doors? What do you think Gallup says about how many times he's been open and that clown's missed him? Not even close. Not even close.
But
that might not be next year. It might not be next year, Cox.
Okay, I know now, but I can't disclose. But I'm gonna take this like a man. But I know what I'm listening to now. And there's a few other people out there listening to the show know what we're listening to now, and I'm not even gonna go there because if I go there, I'll be disclosing my sources on it. But you got an insider on here, so hey, Amari Cooper's hey, everybody, but you got to realize Dez Bryant. Okay, I'm finna throw it out here. Dez Bryant. When he hurt his toe, he was never going to be a number 1 receiver again. He was physical. Yeah. No. Yeah. You see what you're talking about. That's obviously what you're talking about. So you said Dak Prescott criticized his receivers early on before Cooper got there. Now I haven't had the privilege of hearing Dak Prescott doing all this public blaming. Now you may be talking about some behind the scenes stuff that you know about. Yeah, well, he's supposed to invite and bring Amari Cooper in. Well, I mean, they're not going to give this dude $100 million.
Yes, they are because hey, I got a theory on this one. What happens if you try to sign him at $12 million? Because that's probably what he's worth, 8, 10, 12. Instead of giving him the 20 or 23, you can't do that. If you sign him, you're stuck giving him the market. I don't think you can short side him. So if you're going to give him the market, you're talking $80 to $120 million for 4 years. It's 15. Okay, if the market's 15, then you can't offer him 7.
Why can't you?
They won't, because then that's acknowledging he's half of an NFL quarterback.
Well, I think it goes back to you offer him.
Jerry's not a hard negotiator on contracts. Jerry's a softball. All you got to do is give him a couple cocktails. He'll give you all you want.
Postseason. Right.
Hey, I got one for you. I bet if they go to the second round of the playoffs this year, I bet that Jerry re-signs Dak early, bypasses the 4th year. You know his cap hit next year is only $850. Only $850. You could make him play it out all the way to the end. Hell, they made Kirk Cousins play out 2 franchise tags. And Cousins is not very good, but probably as good as Dak.
So do you think he's going to get a bigger contract than Cousins?
Would you sign Zeke long term? Well, see, at some point in time, he's going to get in trouble though.
Because he's going to take that running back thing. Is that he doesn't have that much left in him?
Right.
So
we can look at Le'Veon Bell. We can replace him with anybody. Yeah, all that kind of crap. Well, you can't pay Jalen Smith and all the linemen and the quarterback and the running back, and you can't pay everybody. You can't do it.
Okay, let's back up. Let's back up a little bit here. Go back to the scenario. If the Cowboys roll out of here, win 2 of these next 3 games, which puts them in a solid situation of winning the East, and they go and they win the first wild card game in the first round of playoffs. They go to the second round of playoffs what's our perspective on the Cowboys, Dak Prescott overall, where this franchise is right now at that point?
Right, and if you get to the NFC Championship game, then that takes you one step farther.
That's good.
Yep.
Right, they should get to the NFC Championship game, right?
Right. Yep. Yeah, no, I understand exactly where you're coming from, and on the whole deal. We had a little bit of technical difficulty there, but I understand exactly where you're coming from. So the whole deal is that the jury is still out on this situation. Because I mean, we're going to say Commissioner Cox has got to take a hard line on the Dallas Cowboys. Nobody would argue with it. No, I know you are. You're taking a hard line on this Cowboy team that we got right now, where the personnel is. I don't totally necessarily agree with that, because one thing I understand about sports and guys and ADs and owners and general managers in a situation, they don't make moves until they have a replacement. So they will stick with, unless it's just something real crazy and volatile going on, they're going to stick with what they're doing until they figure out a better option, you know.
They're making more in a game than Dak makes in a season.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Well, that's why I was saying he'd be an idiot if he tries to sign him after this year as some sort of reward for finally not embarrassing him.
Okay, have a good night. All right, Commissioner Cox, you just heard him right there live, giving his perspective on it. I still got some more to go, some more to chop up, some more to break down on this whole thing as we get ready to go to break. You listen to the Lonestar Sports Show, all things sports, all things Texas. Doing it like it needs to be done. Today's show is brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. You got Tom Emlin, the champ. Lady Light, keep us where we need to be. I need the Prince, and yours truly, Alan Branch, giving it to you on the Lone Star Sports Show. Back in 180 seconds with more on the Lone Star Sports Show.
That the Waxahachie deal's just Friday, Saturday, right? No Thursday?
Yeah.
I got that thing. I just wanted to check my shirt. Because I was thinking it might be 3 days. I'm definitely going to get out there.
You can be gone for that whole time, that one. All right. You're going to be gone the whole time on that one.
Is there anything else going on in town besides those games this weekend?
The DFW Challenge, but that's nothing.
Where's that at?
It's not fair.
Where's that at?
Yeah, it's at Fort Worth.
Coach, you got any bottled water?
There we go. Where is it? behind him.
There.
Sounds good to me.
Look at that ball right there. We're gonna have here a little baby. What's going to this one?
You said yeah, what?
Are we still talking Dallas Cowboys?
Oh, 7 o'clock. Still talking about it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
What are we on this segment?
7:15 is where we talk about low majors. And 7:15 is where we talk low majors for beating high majors.
7:15, but not now.
Yeah.
Well, we still haven't done anything. I want to do some stuff on this board. Yeah, we're gonna break into y'all can get this. What's that kid's name? What Heisman?
Kyler Murray. So
Sounds good.
Kyler Murray.
You got a pen when you guys inside?
1 minute. A pen?
You have a pen if you are. Walked out with the whole bag. I usually get
Well,
my
pencil
phone.
over there.
That's fine, yeah.
We got one over here. You didn't see it. Laying right in front of the computer. Oh shit! I was like, here it is right here.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Just clean this cover here.
Oops.
Lose on mine.
30 seconds.
So I'm gonna say y'all discussing all things football plus Heisman Trophy winner. What's his name?
Kyler Murray.
KY.
KY.
Do we know what his?
His dad is Kevin Murray, and his uncle is Calvin Murray, right? Uncle Murray, remember?
Yeah.
Didn't Kevin have a brother Calvin that played baseball at Texas?
I don't know anything about that. I just know.
I think so.
The Kyler Murray.
I know his brother
What
Kevin
is
was a
it?
quarterback.
The Kyler Murray.
THE.
But he played baseball and
KYLER
just like
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think he had a brother, either uncle or a brother named
Yep.
Calvin
Hey,
Murray.
10
Remember,
seconds, guys.
He went to W.T. White and played in Texas.
Okay, he got by me on that one.
Baseball.
He must have been younger because his dad was already young. Oh shit! Hold on, coach.
Yeah, we good.
Shit, we got a problem.
Alright. You good?
Hey, here we are back here at the Lonestar Sports Show on the Lonestar Sports Network. Breaking all down, we winding down on that football deal. We can go Cowboys forever on that deal. Anytime we bring the Commissioner Cox in, it's going to always get a little bit tricky on things, a lot of perspectives that you can have. But I'll go on record that I feel like that we're looking at a Dallas Cowboy team that has the potential to beat anybody, and is capable of beating anybody. Has a 49 to 51% chance of beating anybody on any given day. And to me, that's what you get when you get in the NFL and you get down to the point. I thought you made an interesting perspective point when you made the statement that when you get down to the playoffs, everybody can play.
Yeah, there's no candy butts anymore.
Yeah, and that's the whole deal. Defense travels during the playoffs. I like the fact that a running game travels during the playoffs. I like the fact that those things in place. Everybody was. I'm gonna throw this one out because I've been thinking about this all week long. Everybody was going so crazy. And I told you this about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3, at least 2 weeks, I guess, right before Thanksgiving. So everybody was so crazy. Oh, you gotta score points. You gotta score points. You gotta score points.
No, you gotta stop people.
It all came down to the fact is that when you outscore somebody, that's cool. You gotta win, and there are lots of ways to win. But when you can stop someone and you can control the ball, anything that has ball in it, you usually need the ball to be successful. Yes or no?
No, you absolutely. Possession of the ball is everything. That's why it's important. The ball is the piece of gold.
Right.
The one thing I would take exception with, the running game is great, but not if Dak throws it 52 times for whatever the reason is. I don't understand why they needed to throw it 52 times unless they just do it to keep people happy. I don't get the logic behind why they do what they do. That's what frustrates me.
Sometimes
confuses me.
Let me explain something to you. Sometimes when things like that happen, they're not really counting. They get to the end. They say, "Oh my God, we do it that many times. We can't win like that."
Right.
So things happen sometimes. Have you ever got to the point? I mean, I'm sure when Oregon was playing the University of Houston last weekend, or whenever that was, we were down there for that game. I'm sure at the halfway point of the first half, they did not realize that they were on their way to giving up 12 offensive rebounds in the first half, in which Houston would convert on 8 of those. And so sometimes when things are happening in sports now, we always want to take this armchair Monday morning and look at things and say, oh man, how did they do this and how did they do that? How many times did you coach a game and come back, man, I can't believe we did.
No, but I'm just saying that you got to find a way as a coach to rein that back in. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but okay, so if
you get to a point you can't rein it back in, Tom. Coach, you in a situation where you can't, because now you got to do it.
But see, I don't understand that, because they weren't behind during that game, so they didn't have to do it. And if you've got a middle of the road quarterback, why are you putting him in a top of the road situation? Drew Brees don't throw the ball 52 times in a game. Tom Brady don't throw it 52 times in a game. But Dak Prescott, in a way, it's almost unfair, because
how many times does that happen? We acting like that this is what he does on a regular basis.
I'm just saying, in a must-win game.
That's what they always say. I'm just saying.
Okay, well,
that's some real sister stuff right there.
No.
They want to get their point across. They just hit you with, I'm just saying, If you say you got a substantial way, you act like this is a common practice.
What's a common practice?
They throw the ball 50 plus times a game every
How many times is Dak throwing it over 35?
There's nothing wrong with throwing the ball over 35 times a game.
Does it concern you when you get to 40? Is there any point in time that concerns you that he's throwing too much?
Well,
because you have the best running back, arguably, in the league. Him and Todd Gurley, So you're choosing to not use their best asset probably 20 more times than I think you need to. And I think it's got to be addressed.
But you got to be addressed. You got to always look at the wear and tear and how you're managing him. Did you realize another day in the game that there were some times that boy was pretty much out on his feet?
Well, they don't sub him at all, because you got
they took him out of the game because you see him about the eye. They took him to the tent. They had to sub him. So there's lots of things going on, and I guess from being around, and you've been around too, Tom. So I don't want to say like I'm you played the clarinet or something.
I fell off the turnip truck or something.
Right.
Like that last comment you just threw me about sisters in the barber shop or whatever. Was it the beauty shop? I'm just saying. But,
yeah, see, he knows it.
No, I got to give you some shit back. If you're going to try to punk me in public, shit, I'm at least going to punch back. Go ahead, make your point again.
What the thing at the end of the day, the thing at the end of the day, we know in the heat of the battle, things happen. You go back and you look at the stat sheet and say, oh man. Or you even look at it when it's happening. And sometimes we get in certain scenarios, it's kind of like taking your wife to the mall. And you spend a little money, you spend a little more money, and next, go to the furniture shop. That's the worst place to go. Furniture shop. Go to the furniture shop with the wife, boy, you're in trouble. Get over there. We went over there to get a chair, and we come back with a whole suit of stuff.
Yeah, but in retrospect,
maybe it was such a good deal. They were selling Japanese airplanes over there, and nobody know how to fly. Good deal, Or certain things happen. And I'm being sarcastic, making a joke that really doesn't have anything to do with the price of coffee. But the real point is that in the heat of things going on, we play people more minutes than we plan to play them. I've had plenty of my clients to say, God, I can't believe we didn't get that kid more minutes than we got it.
Right.
You get caught up, rotations, things are going on, things are happening, you're trying to win.
Yeah, but I'm not asking anyone to apologize for the past, but I'm saying to use the past as a reflection point as it pivots into the future. Because if the success leaves clues, and so does failure. So follow the positive crumbs and don't follow the negative crumbs. But that's your whole job, is to sift through that crap. Cox made that point earlier. He talked about that. The reason we talk about the 55% things that they can't do versus the 45% that they can do is because your job is to chip away at that 55%. I guarantee you, Belichick, can you imagine what that plane ride was home and watching that play? I bet he ran that play 50 times just to beat their ass with it.
He put the guy in the game. He
had Gronkowski. I'm not saying that. Yeah. But at the end of the day, there's no way they're ever going to fall for that play again. Mm-hmm. And I'm just saying that at some point in time, you have to use the past. You're going to either learn from the past or you're doomed to repeat the past. That's all.
Okay. And we're repeating the
past.
Right now we are repeating the past.
Which is what?
The past 2 to 3 segments about Dallas Cowboys.
Well, stop talking about it. Talk about basketball.
No, Kyler Murray.
All right, that's
Kyler Murray, Heisman Trophy. You say, well, he's a University of Oklahoma. No, he's a Dallas kid.
Yeah.
He's a second generation high-level quarterback and baseball player. He actually went to school out in the suburbs with his father. And you let me know he must have had a younger brother named Kevin. Calvin played. Kevin Murray came about 3 or 4 years behind me and went to Texas A&M, was a quarterback and a baseball guy too. But you saying that there's a
Calvin's 47. So he was at, let's see what he did.
He must be right behind us. But if you look up his father, who was Kevin Murray, went to Texas A&M.
Right.
Right, the quarterback.
So you had an A&M football player and a Texas baseball player. You had a Major League Baseball player for an uncle, and you had a dad who probably could have been a pro.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't.
He played Kevin. I didn't look up
He
Kevin.
chose baseball over football too.
Okay, they're all baseball players, all of them.
Yeah, right. But there's big, strong arms and great athletes.
Yep.
What they are.
Absolutely, 5'2" guys.
Yeah. But obviously, I think he's making the right choice because, I think he's 5'8", 5'9" on a good day.
Yeah, they listed at 5'10". There's no way.
There's
not
way.
a chance.
No, there's not a chance. I've seen him standing next to some guys that I've been around. Like, oh my God. But he's a tremendous competitor, tremendous athlete. And when you look at him, he's 5'9", nothing but all muscle.
Right.
He's one of those muscular guys. He happens to pass it well too. Not just because he has a strong arm doesn't necessarily make you a tremendous passer, but it also is a situation that see what I'm talking about, them wives in that shopping, boy, there you go right there. I got poopers in the pudding. Just showed up. They locked the door back to them. Run the Amazon guy.
Yeah, I already
come back around here. It's the wrong house. We make the credit card. But you're in a situation here where I think he's making the right choice, same choice. Guaranteed money. Do you want to get guaranteed baseball money? And he obviously loved baseball.
Well, there is a risk though. The one thing you have to take into account is that they always say that the hardest sport to gauge professional success is baseball because there's so many levels of it. And I'm not here to say I've never watched Kyler Murray play. I don't know anything about him as a baseball player, so I couldn't tell you that. But what I'm saying, the $4.7 million he got for the signing bonus, that's banked money. They can't take that back. But you could make the argument that if he was going to be a first round quarterback, the guaranteed money in football might be more than the guaranteed money in basketball. But from what I'm hearing early, they're talking about him being a second and third round pick because it's all on size. Mm-hmm. How do you see over a guy's shoulder pads who's 6'8" when you're 5'8"?
We said Baker Mayfield was too small,
and he's 6'1".
Right. Yeah.
So we're talking 4 inches shorter than him, which means you're about the size of Tariq Cohen, the running back for the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, and
that ain't big enough.
Yeah, of course he's doing the thing. And when you play baseball, you don't have to go to the concussion team.
Look, if all he ever made was $4.7 million, and whatever he scrapes up in baseball, that's forever money. That's lifetime money. Yeah, well, if he gets a big contract in baseball, then it's generational money.
Yeah, right. And that's the whole thing. You're exactly right about that. We started going from great life for you and your family, great life for the grandchildren, and great life for the great-grandchildren.
Yeah, you can set them up, and there's no guarantees anywhere because, at the end of the day, they always say, like, if you take a pencil...
Hey, don't break my pencil, man.
I'm not going to. If you snap that pencil, that's easy. You put 20 of these pencils together, you can't snap them, right?
That's right.
Or, well, Kyler Murray's this.
My grandfather always said there was multiple sticks in one.
And Kyler Murray doesn't get to surround himself with other Kyler Murrays. He's going to get snapped. I wish I could do that right now for a fact, but he'd get pissed off at me. But I love the kid to death, but he's tiny. And the history on small running backs who leave the pocket, we've gone over this a million times. Smaller quarterbacks and he'd have to leave the pocket because how's he going to see in the pocket?
Well, it's just hard to understand how it could possibly work. And, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. We get ready to run off the break here. But the one thing that we're going to talk about, this is the unfairness about it as we kind of roll it down. That's the way the show kind of gets to the top of the hour and then just head downhill on us with the clock seeming to run twice as fast as it runs on a regular basis. Why is it that any human being, any 13, 14-year-old kid has to be held accountable when he's 21 years old for saying a bad word or going to the principal's office or looking under a girl's dress or something for the rest of his life? Right here on the Lonestar Sports Show on the Lonestar Sports Network. We're going to come back, keep on talking. We got some basketball to talk about. We got a few things to take us all the way out of the process. Stay tuned right here. All things sports, all things Texas. Tom Emlin, the champ, Lady Life, Underneath the Prince, and yours truly, Alan Branch. Today's show is brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. This particular segment was brought to you by Harlem Hotels. Go take a look and a listen and look at HarlemHotels.com and see how you can put your money where you sleep. If you don't get anything else out of it, go look at HarlemHotels.com. It's worth it. It really is a good look. Back in 108 seconds with more of the Lonestar Sports Show.
So we're going mid versus what? The mid majors versus the high majors.
No, I'm going to talk about the
Kyler in the tweets. Then we go to that.
Yeah, and then we're going to go into mid major, high major.
Well, these all three of these segments are kind of intertwined. We don't have to separate them out necessarily.
No, that's the second rated.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I made a statement the other day, and the only reason the Bears didn't fall into the exact same statement was they got a safety. But I bet nobody's won a game in the NFL this year when it's scoring 13 points. I mean, I bet nobody's won a 13-point. Because think about how often could you have won scoring 13 because you had to hold on to 212.
Yeah, no.
And the only reason we scored 15 was because we had a safety. So I'm saying we both basically did the same thing. We both shot out great offenses, and we both won, scored way too few points because Trubisky was terrible. You know, They always say in the NFL, if you're going to miss, you miss low and outside. You don't miss high and inside. That motherfucker was sailing him like a high school kid. And I think his shoulders just hurt. I don't think he's a bad quarterback. But if he ain't ready, don't play him. Even though Chase Daniel's not very good, if he ain't good enough, don't play him.
Sometimes a piece of quarterback better than no quarterback at all.
Right. 1 minute.
Oh, boy.
Seconds.
So what is this really about now?
Kyler Murray's tweets getting shit about backlash on some tweets.
Kyler Murray's homophobic tweets.
He had
some homophobic tweets back in high school.
He said something about somebody being a sissy when he was in the 7th grade.
So Kyler Murray's homophobic tweets at 15 years old.
Some people say 14, some people say 15. Middle school tweets. Put it middle school tweets.
Responsibilities.
We're ready when you're ready, lady.
Okay, give me. Let's roll.
Hey, back at the Lonestar Sports Show, see the little dead spot right there. They quite get the signal. Missed it.
You know,
All things sports, all things Texas. Lonestar Sports Show, Lonestar Sports Network. They're on Periscope. We're out on our YouTube live channel. Giving it to you, Lady Life and Honey and Money, sitting behind the scene there with all the Apple gear and keeping us where we're supposed to be, doing what we're supposed to be doing. All we gotta do is sit here and run our mouth and make a little bit of sense if we have a chance.
good at the first part, the second part's a coin flip.
But on a serious note, you know, every once in a while we debate this one. I don't know how much debate or how much static I can get out there. You can feel free to put this out there on social media that I don't see why a middle school kid should be held liable when, you know, we've got people in the White House. I shouldn't say people, I hate to use that word. We got a president in the White House that's not.
You trying to say he's not a person? I like that distinction because I think he's an orange-faced orangutan. Go ahead. It's your deal.
I mean, you said that I did.
I did. I'll say it loud and proud. F Trump.
I gotta deal with the IRS this year, so we'll kill it. We got a lot of
He takes no personal accountability and responsibility for my political viewpoints.
Right. Yeah, his all stuff is all set. He doesn't have
Complete
anything.
disclaimer.
But the point is that holding a middle school kid future as a hostage of something that was said, how far do you go with this situation where you charge up a kid about going to the principal's office, looking on the girl's dress when he's 13, 14 years old, making a homophobic, the kid couldn't even spell homophobic when he was, the word probably wasn't even invented when he was in middle school. You know, I mean, is it that there's a certain political correct police that's just sitting around that has to give somebody a ticket on something on a regular basis to feel like that they're or fit for the process? I mean, how
well, hold on. Let's look at the very first thing. If your kid hadn't won, would it have even come out? Of course not.
Yeah,
No. It only came out because he won. It's crabs in a bucket. If you can't climb out of the bucket, the other crabs reach up and pull him down. So Kyler Murray's about to climb out of the bucket, and some asshole, like the person who took that weed mask video for Tencel. Remember the kid from Mississippi or Mississippi State? He was videotaped with a weed mask. You guys remember that? And they dropped a bomb on him right at the NFL draft. He
Sure did,
dropped
sure
the
did.
bottom of that damn draft. Well, I mean, that probably was going to happen no matter what because they just wanted to screw him. I think that was all just about. I would be willing to bet that whoever outed that probably came from one of the two schools that didn't win. I bet it's a Bama fan.
Well, I'll throw this out there. I think we have to look at ourselves as where our morals, where our values are as a society, and if we're going to fall into allowing ourselves to, we're almost like cutting our nose off to spite our face in the success of young people, that you're going to find a way to discredit them in some way or another, or find another way to, I like the term crab in the bucket. As soon as someone starts having any kind of success, oh, he's not perfect, he's not that good, let me show you why he's not. Pull him down. Right. And you get into that process. So what are you really doing? Pulling society down? So you're saying because a kid did something in middle school that he shouldn't have the opportunity to be successful as a 21, 22-year-old young man?
15-second rant. The whole internet is based on a bunch of cowards who sit behind keyboards anyway. The entire social media concept is built behind deception and cowards who sit behind keyboards and make anonymous pot shots at people. If you had any courage at all, you'd step up and say it to the person's face. So we really shouldn't expect much more than this out of this crap.
But the whole deal is, if we looked at them like they were Saturday Night Live pranksters, we empower them. We all of a sudden, when one of these clowns that you say that come from behind some keyboard, some coward behind a keyboard is sitting there, and as soon as they throw something out there, we give it legs and jump on.
Well, TMZ will pay for anything. I mean, TMZ would pay for. I mean,
they'll pay for anything that sells. Go ahead, honey. It's his group.
No, they will. That was a USA Today.
Yeah, but he's talking about TMZ with the kid that was beating up on the girl.
The whole idea that there's always somebody out there who's willing to pay for exploitative news. There's always whatever's sensational.
No, I know.
We enable a TMZ.
We entertain it.
We enable media.
We dignify it by giving it a forum.
Like why would we talk about the Dallas Cowboys for 3 to 4 segments if nobody cared about the Cowboys? Right. Nobody watched NFL football. We wouldn't be talking about NFL football.
But going back to Kyler Murray, I was going to say something. We talked a little bit earlier before the show, but I mean, I can't completely exonerate anybody who does something stupid. But I did make a point about the age of consent. You can't even sign a contract unless you're over 21. You can't drink a beer unless you're over 21. You can't go into the military unless you're over 18. You can't consent to having sexual relationships unless you're 17. With all that said, you can't even get a person drunk or under the influence because all that's illegal. So why are we going to hold a 14 or 15-year-old kid? I was a really nice kid in high school. There's a lot of people at home who will tell you Tom Emmons is a pretty good guy. Man, don't take the worst 10 snapshots of my life or you would think that I'm the biggest asshole you've ever met. And I would deserve that based on those snapshots. But I'm glad there wasn't an internet.
But most middle school kids have bad judgment.
Yeah, they're going to say something.
They're idiots. They're going through hormonal crisis. They're trying to impress their friends, and they do dumb things. You can't hold that against them. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
I mean, just like if you have a juvenile record, I mean, when you turn 18, it goes away.
Right. Expunge it.
It's a great point. Lady Life has got a point.
So why would your tweets?
Lady Life has got a point. She hadn't had a point about 2 weeks. Lady Life.
The thing about it is the other side of it is that Kyler isn't, I guess, exempt from anything anybody else would be, which is under scrutiny, right?
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that with a lot of young minorities or people who I would say less privileged, they don't think about PR. They don't think about going back. There are people who are always going to try to dig into your past and find something wrong with whatever you did. But if you don't have the right people on your team, or you're not thinking from that mindset that, hey, before I get out here on this large platform, let me make sure I got all my ducks in a row, or at least to pay somebody to make sure all my ducks in a row, then all your stuff is there.
So you're saying there should have been somebody from a Google cleanup, Google research suppressing type thing.
Tweets removed, you can get stuff removed from the web. I know they say it's out there forever, but you can at least get it to a place where people can't dig it up.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of people who
I know they have the cyber suppression that pretty much will push back a negative, what do you call it, input or whatever.
Remind me at the next break to tell you a story about that. I got a good one on that one.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you probably have other kids who have done worse things, but they had someone to help them cover it up, essentially.
Well, I think that's another angle on it, and that's a technology angle that arms you in the climate in which we live in. So you're right, lady. But I still say that if we are going to give credit or give legs or acknowledge the fact that someone should be ridiculed for something they did when they were in
the 8th grade. We don't know if it was a 7th grade or 8th grade, middle school. A middle school decision, a kid's going to be held or going to have we're going to hurt him or discredit his character or try to pull him down or you did something bad when you, I mean, it's kind of, it's like the Christian thing. He was out saying throw the first rock.
I swear to God, I was going to say the same. He without irrational, teenage, psychotic, not thinking very well, sin, throw the first stone. Because we've all said and done stupid things that would make fools of us and our parents if they heard us say it. Every one of us. I don't give a damn.
But I mean, a middle school situation. I like to think about the sense of responsibility at 17 or consent or whatever you call it. There at 17, 18 years old. What are you going to do? Just run around? What are we as a society? This is where I'm asking us to look. We know how it works, okay? That everybody's trying to pull somebody down. But this is where I want to look a little different. This is coming from Alan Branch, not just Lonestar Sports Show. How do we look at ourselves as a society if we feel like that's where we got to go every time someone starts to find a level of success or we find that we acknowledge? See, we empower this stuff, too.
It makes you feel better about your sorry life. Just like a good example of what you're saying is people go on to Facebook and they Photoshop the pictures and they doctor their life up to look at absolutely perfect. We all know it's bullshit. Everybody knows it's bullshit, yet we still go. Right now, the American Medical Association has got a new definition of a type of like online depression where you go online knowing it's bullshit and you still get depressed because your life's not as perfect as their not perfect life. How have we gotten so deluded that we actually don't go out and talk to people, take a walk around the neighborhood?
It's warped. It's a lot of things that really show some really bad, dark places that we are as a society. That's what I see in it, and to knock kids, because I spend my profession I do for a living is I try to do everything that I can do to help and uplift kids. I talk to them, I'm involved with them. Just the whole process. The world I live in every single day has something to do with a 15 to 20-year-old kid,
right,
and how he can get an education and be successful through the vehicle of basketball.
But you know what's disturbing? My last couple of years, I started noticing something. This is a function of society, not my kids at Grand Prairie, but I would see us 11, 12 kids get off the bus, and instead of going up like as a group, which typically that's the old school, we all hang around together, they'd all go off and do their own thing. Half these guys are doing Facebook Live and all this stupid crap, and it's kind of frustrating. I was telling Barron, I said, I'd like to give each one of them $50 and tell them to go into a bar if we were in college and say, you got to walk out with a girl. Not phone numbers, not links, with a girl, because you can talk, because they can't. They had, how many times have you gone to dinner and you see 4 people at the table and they all have their phone out? And what's the point?
I got the great story of sitting at the Final Four watching one of my friends' daughters, one 9 years old and one 11 years old, sitting next to each other, and they're sitting there texting between one another, talking about what the plans is when we get out of this boring basketball game and when we get back to the hotel. There's some dysfunctionality and deterioration of society is what I'm saying when we start going in places like this. You got us right here on the Lonestar Sports Show. All things sports, all things Texas. Today's show is brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. This particular segment is brought to you by Fast Recruit. We continue to pursue and push and go in the direction that we're trying to go, building this process to be what it is into the community. Closing out 2018. We have one more show left this year, but we have about 2 more segments left tonight. You got Tom Inman, the champ, Lady Life, the Prince, Under You Money, and yours truly, Alan Branch, back in 180 seconds with more Lone Star Sports Show. Hey, you're back here at the Lone Star Sports Show talking about the Lone Star Sports Network. All things sports, all things Texas Today show is brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. Just sitting here, and Ani can help me with this. Young man over at Garland High School, Jalen Young, just accepted a scholarship to Grambling State University there in the SWAC, a Division I situation, Division I college in the SWAC. Actually, I'm going to go another step. It's a heck of a limb to go out on because Grambling State is really, really good right now. I know the coach that took over there maybe 2 to 3 years ago went out as a national recruiting type guy.
Who's coaching at Grambling?
I can't call his name.
I should know that. But.
Right. Yeah, I can't call his name right now because there's 351 of them and one of me. Hard to keep up with. I've had extensive conversations, and I know who his coaching tree is, and I know what his recruiting tendencies are. He recruits
Dante
at a
Jackson.
Say that again, honey.
Dante Jackson.
Dante Jackson. He recruits at a really high level. I know some of the people that he's connected to back east that are some, pit bull recruiters that he's getting kids better than SMU has in some situations.
Well, you know what I've always told people? I said, if you got the right guy in the SWAC, they could do what Tommy Amaker's doing up at Harvard.
Yeah.
You can set it up in such a way that people who really value the HBCU experience, you could get them, full rides for sure. If you can't, Amaker's got somebody to sponsor each
he's doing
player.
this guy's doing the same thing that Tony Harvey did at TSU when TSU first got rolling. He was going and getting guys that had trouble at Kentucky, had trouble at high major situations, bringing them back in, policing them, cleaning the process up, and now you're going out and you're beating high majors. So that's one of our topics. But before we go to that, I love to hear. I never had a chance to meet his mother, but I just got a text from his coach and his mother saying, "Thank you, Mr. Branch, for all your help this summer." Should that kid be? Well, we're gonna go back and we're gonna look. You know what? When he was in the 7th grade over at J.N. Irvin Middle School, he put out a tweet. We're gonna take his scholarship if he doesn't apologize for something that he said when he was 12 years old. How can you punish a kid? I mean, that's what this stuff is all about. We should be a society that is embracing young people and showing them the error of their ways, because these are the same people that are going to be taking care of us.
But you're right. But let's pull the political consideration, which you always give me a hard time about this, but it has to matter. You got 3 coaches. One guy is rock solid, okay, Dean Smith. The other guy is sort of solid. The other guy is on thin ice, okay. Those 3 guys all take the same player. This guy over here is Father Flanagan. I just want to help the poor and underprivileged black youth of America. This guy over here is sort of taking a risk. This guy ain't going near it. He'll plunge through the damn ice. So and that sucks, because you should be I believe America's a forgiving nation. I've made some mistakes in my life, and I've been forgiven for them. And I believe people even coming out of prison deserve forgiveness and a second chance.
They paid their toll.
Exactly. You paid your bills. Now move on. And I just kind of wondered if there's not something to be said for that, because I think that I lost my train of thought. What was it saying?
Yeah, but the whole point comes down to is that we have to be in the business
of helping kids, right? But that should be across the board, but it's not going to be.
Of nurturing the situation. We're always looking for some way to kill, hammer, do something to drag somebody down. You use the deal, crab in the bucket. Everybody's trying to pull everybody down. But you got to realize, when we pull everybody down, we're pulling ourselves down too.
But ask yourself one simple question. Did I just describe the entire college basketball recruiting system when you talk about crabs in a bucket? Negative recruiting is all crab in a bucket. You don't want to go there because that coach's not going to be there. You don't want to go there because he doesn't know how to coach a great player.
Yeah,
You don't want to go there because they play correct competition. You don't want to go there because
because they get fired so fast, they pull all these stunts and do everything they can.
But negative recruiting is crabs in a bucket. It's exactly the same thing.
Well, it's just trying to keep everybody, not let anybody get ahead of it. Well,
Right.
That's crabs in a bucket.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So I mean that's a kind of a social nature that we have.
It's our darker side that we shouldn't be proud of.
Should be proud of, and it shouldn't be applied to our young people. And it's kind of a little bit of a misery loves company.
Why do you drive by a car wreck? Why do you drive by a car wreck and look?
Because everybody wants to see somebody's head chopped off and rolling around on the freeway.
Their life's more screwed up than mine. Exactly. That's all.
We're always looking. We thrive on tragedy and crazy, terrible.
My life
horror.
might be screwed up, but theirs was more screwed up than mine is.
Misery loves company.
Yep.
Yeah. We feel better about ourselves when we see someone else that's struggling as much as we are, or potentially more than we are.
Right.
That's how we live.
Well, it flies in the face of the whole Christian spirit, which is to give and forgive.
And
but we don't do it. We talk about it because it gets us places.
Yeah, I mean, Honey's around me a lot. I bounce a lot of things off of Honey. I just don't thrive on negativity. I don't thrive on failure because I feel like at the end of the day, we all take a hit.
Yeah.
As a community, a society, across the board. And the other deal is I don't have a problem with my fellow man's success. That's another deal that I've learned. I've been involved with tons of professionals in this business that have made millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, and I help support, enable a part of that process or deal or what went on in their lives.
That cost George Bush a re-election, by the way.
What was that?
Looking at your watch. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's not I'm looking at my watch. I'm looking at my phone. But the point I'm making is that I always say that we are a better place for it. It doesn't always have to be about you. I'm not getting the benefit of a scholarship, but I'm really excited about this kid, and I'm just I really appreciate it. And this is not on public deal. This is over to the side. Just saying thank you. Just that's all you appreciate. That's all you. If you're really doing it for what I consider the right reasons or what should make you feel good about it, because you can't entrust your livelihood to a 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old kid. No. You don't know what they're going to do. But if you can be about the business of supporting a community of 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old kids and moving them along and hopefully being able to help and support them in some kind of way or another. Which brings us to the topic of, and I struggle with this all the time. Now, Oni's been with me, I guess, I'm getting confused. More than 2 years?
Close to 2 years.
Oh, coming up on 2 years, not even 2 years yet. And one of the things I recall, I was telling him, I said, Oni, you really going to have to learn how to distinguish between what translates to the next level and what doesn't translate. That's going to be a big part of how good of an evaluator you are. And the deal I always say is good players come in all levels. Yeah. I can come and watch your high school team. You can have two kids. You can have one kid that averages 25 points a game. You can have another kid that averages 11 points a game. The 11-point-a-game guy may be a high-level prospect than a 25-point
Might be
guy.
Division II.
Right.
Mid-major, low-major. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
I get you. Yeah.
That's one of the delusional nature.
Fit.
That's a big delusional nature. And that's what we're talking about here in these last two segments, just the overall situation. And I'm going to go back to my cheat notes and see exactly how I went about it. Yeah, why do high school kids, and I'm going to come to you. We got the champ right here in here with us. Why is a high school coach, why does a high school kid struggle at the level that they struggle at when they get to college? And I definitely don't, I'm not only going to answer the question. The deal is how much are we contributing to their struggle? Now, that's really the topic of the real point situation. We know that when a kid goes from boys basketball to men's basketball, there's going to be a change. It's a whole different ball game. Right. But I think the fact that we don't acknowledge that and we don't prepare. You said earlier, one of my sayings that I stole from Tony Benford, and Tony Benford probably stole it from somebody else. But are we really preparing kids for the path, or are we trying to prepare the path for the kids?
Well,
go ahead. What did you do?
You're caught up in kind of a catch-22 because if you're going to hard coach a kid, which I would define hard coaching as telling them the truth, not cussing and yelling and screaming and ranting and raving, just telling them the truth, right? Because I've been doing this for 30 years and you've been doing this for 30 minutes, okay? I think number one thing is it's almost impossible to hard coach because these kids bounce around so much. So it takes a lot of courage just to stand your ground and say, I'll live with the consequences, because what will end up happening is once you lose a player or two, then that becomes your reputation on the street. Now you really, then it's like creating a downward spiral, all right? It can kill a program. Then the other thing is, I mean, the great players in this country actually get paid cash plus all the gear they can wear to play. They shop themselves around these AAU programs, okay? So nobody's telling these kids the truth. They're not being told the truth. The truth is you're going to get your ass handed to you by a bunch of big, angry, grown men. It's highly unlikely as a freshman that you're going to play. I mean, the mere fact that people don't understand how redshirting works. Like, I know you guys are savvy enough to know that if you have a kid who goes away to college, I got a kid, Jonathan Kabongo is playing at Virginia Tech, my nephew is playing for Buzz, and he may redshirt. And I was trying to explain to my wife, well, redshirting is going to hurt his feelings, but it's the greatest thing they can do for him. Because it shows a commitment to you. It says, we want you to be here. And then what I always tell to the player is, okay, listen, if we could redshirt you in high school, think how good you'd be. I remember when John Robertson left to go play for Bobby Knight at Texas Tech. I said, John, can you imagine if you were coming back to play as a senior in high school? And he goes, Coach, no one can stop me. So that's my point. So a year older, a year bigger, a year faster. But how many people will tell them the truth? They won't. They just kiss their asses.
Well, here's the problem. Here's the problem. Okay, you right. You're 100% right.
You a pro, man. You a pro.
You probably 110% right.
See that 15 times a day.
Jesus.
Yeah, but here's the thing that both of y'all need to look at. How many parents and kids are interested in the truth?
Oh, most aren't. But so
okay, let's start out with it now.
All right, okay, hold on. What people always say, why can you get away with all this bullshit in the recruiting game? The answer is always because nobody stays mad enough long enough because very few people have two kids. Okay?
Well, that's a big part of it. I say that all the time. But the thing that I'm saying is that you don't run into many parents, kids, summer coaches, high school you don't run into many people on this side of the fence, if you will, or on this side of the process that have any interest in the truth. I mean, they don't want to hear that. They want everything sugar-coated and blown up.
And they'll always take the path of least resistance, which is to transfer schools, change teams.
Well, they want that's why the transfer rate is so high. We talk about the transfer rate at the college level. What is the transfer rate for players amongst high school?
That's what I was Googling earlier before when that sound came up. I was trying to Google something. I never found anything that basically says, what happens to the likelihood of you transferring in college when you transfer when you go to more than one high school? And I saw it one time, like, if you go to one high school for 4 years, 7% chance of transferring. If you go to two schools, it goes to 30. If you go to three schools, it goes to 90.
Yeah.
Tracy McGrady went to 5 high schools. Amari Stoudemire went to 5 or 6 high schools. I mean, what do you think they're going to stick around long? They never stayed anywhere else long.
Right. Well, I mean, and that's the whole deal. I mean, it's just really, really, really kind of a warped thing. And once again, just like I always say about this NCAA college basketball thing, let's don't talk about the 1% that are going to be fine. I'm talking about the other 97 to 99% of over here that have to have a normal, realistic path in life.
Well, and the real pisser is that when those 99% of the people don't do something that's not even realistic in the first place, the blame game says their parents have to find someone to blame, and it couldn't possibly be that my ankles were thick. One of my really good coaching friends was sitting in a meeting with a couple parents, and he said, you know the real problem we have here? And they said, what's that? I said, bad genetics.
Yeah.
They walked out of the room.
Lone Star Sports Show right here on the Lone Star Sports Network. Giving it to you like it is. We're going to come back, chop this thing up, and give it a little bit more on this high school basketball, recruiting, evaluation, and where this world really is on all this. Just kind of want to give a few words of wisdom, look at some real perspective, and look at what counts and what doesn't count and where the value really is. Back in 180 seconds with more of the Lone Star Sports Show. This particular segment was brought to you by HardhamHotels.com. Go take a look at HardhamHotels.com and take a listen to what we have to say about it right now. Either way, it's a great place to put your money where you sleep. Hey, here we are back here in the paint, in the red zone. I think football season like to call it the red zone. Actually, I think we right down in there trying to get in the end zone right here as we come down to our last segment. And the place that I really want to close out on here is that why do parents and supporters don't understand the shortcomings or don't understand the shortcomings of their approach and what they're setting kids up for? And why are they willing? Because I think some of these parents really love and care about these kids because they exemplify it in their actions. You know, the amount of time
The sacrifice, the financial sacrifices, the time commitments.
Right, yeah, because so many people want to say, oh, they're doing it for money. Man,
but they're doing spare the rod but spoil the child, though, when it comes down to it, because they'll always tell them that it's someone else's fault.
Well, it's that because they want the allegiance of it. But the point of it is that, you know, we're in a situation, got way too comfortable. Everyone moved off the set. But you know, the thing comes down to the fact of it is the reality of, as much as they love these kids, as much as they want them to be successful, they're not willing. Well, spoil a rod, spoil a child type thing, but they're not willing to. They are delusional in their own perspective on things, is what I'm trying to say.
Here's a good analogy. It's baseball, but it's kind of off the cuff, but it's not off the cuff. When a kid's a young kid, everyone can hit a baseball. That's worth a crap. And the guys who move up to high school usually can handle the fastball because most kids don't throw a great curveball. But at the end of the day, if you're going to get to the major leagues, you've got to be able to prove to the major leagues that you can hit a curveball. And that's a whole different animal than just hitting a big old fat fastball, okay? The analogy is high school basketball is the big old fat fastball with no curveball. When you start getting to high-level college, everyone was the best player that ever played at their college. When you get to the pros, those guys who get cut are great players. The differential is so tiny.
I think that's very, very much true for the going from the college to the professional level. I think what the biggest problem is with the collegiate level is that the kids have never been held accountable. And now they're being thrown into an environment. So, I mean, that was one of the big topics that we just skipped all the way over, while high majors getting beat by low major, mid-major programs where the talent is obviously, you know, according to all evaluations, everything that's taking place is obviously different, because it is absolutely sometimes like pulling teeth to get a McDonald's All-American or a high-level top 50 player to play, because we're playing, you know, Boogaloo U tonight. Oh, man, those guys can't play. They can't do this. They can't do that. I'm not going out here and putting forth any effort. And then you get in the situation, and they don't mind. They don't mind. You know how they look at it? They don't mind you getting beat, coach. You the coach. You don't mind you got beat.
I got 30 seconds on this.
I'm still going to the NBA. You still got 7-8 minutes. Go ahead.
The mid-major has something to prove. The high major often doesn't, because they think they're already set. Second thing is the mid-major hasn't been coddled. They've got something to prove. They got a chip on their shoulder that pisses them off. And the coach has a lot to gain. Go ask Shaka Smart what he felt like when the replacement coach for VCU beat him at a money game. He took home a check probably for $150,000, right? About $150,000. Okay, $115,000 to get their ass kicked and humiliated. And that was 2 mid-majors that beat him in a row in money games. Go ask what was that guy that got beat at Michigan when he lost to Appalachian State? Go ask that Lloyd Carr. Go ask Lloyd Carr how that worked out for him. So you got and then the high majors. You know, you flip it over now. They've been coddled. They've been told they're great. They've been told that everything that they lack is either doesn't exist or they're just being unfair to you. And at the end of the day, every kid who plays in the EYBL thinks that he's going to the league. Well, I got news for you. There's a guy named Giannis Antetokounmpo that showed up. There's a guy named Luka Doncic that showed up. There's a guy. I mean, you can just go on and on and on and on and on with people who are never part of the shoe circuit, who are going to just waiting to kick your ass. Or the 30-year-old man who's got a really mean wife and he's got a big mortgage payment and he's used to being a millionaire and he really likes private planes. He's not letting you take it from him. And I just don't think these people have any idea how good you got to be. That goes back to hitting the curveball. They say one of the hardest things to do in sports is hit a major league curveball. That's why they pay you so well.
Once again, you're 100% right going to the professional level. The problem that I have is that the number of kids now that you're struggling that are getting a chance to go to college and play college basketball that don't want to go to school. They really don't want to be there. Yeah. Don't want to go to class. They're not interested in education. All they want to do is lay around until practice time and play basketball and travel. And really don't want to practice hard.
Yeah, the point guard at Duke, without crushing him, that was kind of, he's pretty sure he's going to go right out, and it just didn't work out. And as you play yourself out of the draft or into the draft, it gets exposed.
But that happens
if you're top 5, they don't care. You don't go to class.
Right. And the thing is that we're sitting around here. We're creating these monsters. One thing I know about kids only do
what you tolerate,
what you allow them to do, and what they see you do.
Right.
Those are 2 things that all of your philosophies, racism. Kids aren't born racist.
They get taught.
They learn racism. Racism is a learned behavior. Being lazy and being arrogant, these are learned behaviors. You're not just born arrogant. You learn to become arrogant because you've been taught some particular philosophy. Or so the things that are going on, why is it that we are setting our kids up for failure, not to
blinded by ego? You're blinded by the ego. You're blinded by the potential of the riches. You're blinded by. I mean, do you know how cool it is?
Blinded by the potentials of the riches. I definitely agree with that one.
And do you know how cool it is when you got thick ankles and your wife's got kind of thick ankles, and suddenly your son is getting talked about as being a college basketball player because some guy told you that his high school coach sucks. That's why he doesn't start. And that he diminishes the difficulty of the task, and then he sets everyone up to fail. The kid, everybody, the parents being the natural human beings that they are, on one hand do love their kid, and on the other hand are probably going to make excuses for him because we're in a coddling, enabling society. And here I go with being the grumpy old man, but it's just a fact. It's just a fact. People don't want to hear the truth. The irony was, I was going to read this thing real quick. It says, my buddy Gratz over at Bowie has a poster that says, average players want to be left alone, good players want to be coached, and great players want to be told the truth. And my best players I've ever had, the best 5 I ever had, I could get in their rear ends. I could tell them the truth, a really hard, ugly truth. Because they wanted to be that good, and they knew that they needed to listen.
You know what the scary thing is about that?
What's that?
I think what you're saying is still 100% true at the foundation. But right now what's taking place is that, and I forgot what you said, the great players.
Great players want to be told the truth.
Great players want to be told the truth. The great players are the great talents, I like to say.
Right, there you go.
Are in situations where there's so many people around them telling them what they want to hear. Once again, kids
prepare the path for the child, or the child for the
right.
path. You're smoothing the path.
Right. So you have so many people that are around that want to give them what it is they think that they want to hear and what they want to know to make them feel comfortable. It's kind of like electricity and water, least path of resistance. Everybody likes the least path of resistance. If we felt like none of us had to work, we wouldn't work.
Right.
We all in this room like to eat, so we work. So the point is they keep telling these kids that you're fine. You don't have to do this. You have to do that. You already arrived. We're going to go down here and make sure that Alan Branch and Mike Kunstad and Jimmy Hicks all fix the rankings. We'll argue with them and tell them they don't know what they're talking about, and you should be ranked like this, and you should be ranked like that, and how did he not make the All-Star team, and why did y'all put him there, and why isn't he on this team, and why he should be on that team, and he should be able to shoot up all the balls, those other kids. Why do we keep on doing all these things to deteriorate the kids' perspective toward working and developing and what it takes to be the best, and we want to just anoint them the best through some political manipulated process?
Well, but it's kind of that version we always talk about. I hate the word hater. That as soon as I tell you, as soon as I make any distinctions about what I don't like about a player, like everyone says I'm a hater of Dak Prescott. No, there's certain things he does well and certain things he doesn't. And when I talk about a negative thing, I shouldn't have it labeled categorically broad stroke by he's a hater. Mm-hmm. So I'm really coachable. If you tell me that I could get better doing something, I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room. I want to be the dumbest guy in the room because that means I'm getting smarter from other people. But how many people go in that room with a bunch of experienced coaches and act like the smartest guy in the room, and then they just count them in the name of some grassroots coach maybe who doesn't even have any experience. And I'm not putting on the grassroots, the industry. I'm just putting on the idea that some clown that I've been coaching longer than you've been on this earth.
That is exactly right. Terrell Woody, what's going on? No, man, we're in the middle of the show right here. We're sitting here talking about some things and just talking about how it is that kids are in a situation where, matter of fact, give me a call back at 713-392-1930.
I'll text to you, Woody.
He's texting it to you so you don't get lost. Call back in. We'll let you talk about this a little bit. Here's a hot guy, been doing it for 20-plus years. Pretty good big man coach.
Hey, while he's working on that call, one thing I made a note to myself, though, that one thing that I've always told my players, and I've always told my stepsons and my nephews and the people I care about, is we all need truth tellers in our life. We need someone in our life who will tell us the truth when we need to freaking hear it. I've always operated that way. I really truly value someone who has the courage because I'm a really intimidating person from all accounts. They always tell me you intimidate people. Well, then that means it's even harder for a person who loves me to tell me the truth. But you know it's really easy to bullshit me and blow smoke up my ass and tell me every single thing that I want to hear. And that's the fault of the adults. It's not the fault of the kids, because the kid's always going to grab onto the easiest.
They're going to do it.
The path of least resistance is hard for adults. It's it's impossible for a teenager.
Why should it be? I mean, he's a kid. That's what the whole thing is. Why he has parents and guardians and
I made a comment to one time, and I'll try to keep it PG rated, but I said a guy should not be able to walk up to a kid under 17 and say, "You gonna be a pro," any more than a guy should walk up and suggest to a girl under 17 that they have relations.
Yeah, right. There we go. We got Coach Terrell Woody of the TCAL 6A division at University Academy with multiple players. They try to make me rush out of here, but you got 2 minutes to talk about the fact of why is it that in this business people would rather hear what they want to hear versus wanting to hear what the truth is. What's your perspective after 20 years of doing this, Coach Woody?
Well, I think that people have accepted lying throughout the whole, not just in basketball or football or sports, just in general. So lying has, it was at one point in time where your word was so respected, and that's what people went on, that it's just a whole worldly thing. It's not just in sports anymore.
You know what? I totally agree with you, and we don't have but like about 2 more minutes left. I'm going to invite you to come back on the show again. We're going to talk more about it. But I totally agree with what Coach Woody there at Universal Academy is talking about. Woody, you've been in coaching probably pretty close to 20 years, right? Every bit of 18, 19 years, right?
Yeah, 15 years.
15 years? Okay. It just seems like a long time. I thought I knew you right at about the turn of the century, about 2000, but that was more like 2000, 2004 or 5. Woody might be trying to steal a few years on us, but been around, to my opinion, one of the better, probably one of two of the best big man development guys in the state of Texas, and is a solid high school basketball coach that's good at producing and preparing young prospects to move on to the collegiate level and understands what they're going to need, who's right in line with what we've been talking about here tonight. He just coincidentally called just to talk, but the one thing that I agree on before we go with it, and I'll catch up. We'll talk after the show. But the one thing I want you to hear, Woody, that I agree on, we want to give Terrell Woody credit for this is we look at what's going on in sports, and we think we have a monopoly on it. The deal is it's a society thing. Anytime the society deteriorates, sports social perspective deteriorate
with it
10 to 15, 20 times, because everything that's done on a court or on a field or in the area of sports, you can multiply that by roughly, 5, 10, 15 times because of the attention that sports gets. So I think we have more of a social issue than we have a sports issue. It just, when it shows up in sports, it's not any fun to look at. We want to thank Terrell Woody for jumping in here. Probably by coincidence, but we still got him. We've been promising him to bring him back on. Told him we're going to win a few more games. We're going to bring him in and let him talk about what it is. But he does coach the number one player in the 2021 class there at Universal Academy, Arthur Coomer. But we ready to break out now. Right here at the Lonestar Sports Show. Today's show was brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. And we'll see you again on next Tuesday, the 18th. We are all things sports, all things Texas. We'll see you in a little bit. Hey, get ready for hump day. Go get something done. We'll see you on next week. Enjoy your weekend and be careful. God bless.